Gaza, a land once teeming with life, is now described as worse than hell on earth. The horrors unfolding from there are not just the tragic consequences of a war. Acts of systematic starvation, destruction, indiscriminate bombings, war crimes, and genocidal acts, all carried out with chilling precision by Israeli army. Since early March 2025, Israel has intensified the blockade and attacks on Gazan population. Not even a single truck carrying food, water, or medical aid has been allowed in. Not even a bottle of water. Israel, in a move condemned by the international law experts, has closed all the crossings. Humanitarian agencies like UNRWA, UNICEF, and the World Food Programme previously operated critical aid networks and supplied the necessary resources to sustain the life in Gaza. All of them have been now expelled.
Do you think Israel is using food aid, medical aid, humanitarian aid as a weapon of war?
I have absolutely no doubt, and this is what we have witnessed during these last 19 months, but especially during these last 2 months.
That's a war crime.
That will be qualified as a war crime. The qualification will come from the ICJ, not from me.
What about these?
UN Secretary General said in a news briefing that Gaza has become the world's hungriest place on earth and a killing field.
More than 500,000 people, a quarter of the population, are facing what experts classify as catastrophic levels of hunger. 4 out of 5 of the hungriest people anywhere in the world are in Gaza. Humanitarian veterans who have served in war zones and disasters around the world, people who have seen everything, tell me they have seen nothing like what they see today in Gaza.
Forced starvation is a war crime under international law. But enforcement means little when the violations are carried out by the State of Israel with a powerful international backing, primarily from the US, and enjoys total impunity for all its actions. Since March 2nd, at least 57 children have died from starvation, according to WHO reports. Many more remain on the brink, too weak to cry, too dehydrated to survive. Only trickles of aid are being delivered through the controversial Gaza Humanitarian Foundations, which started its operation in late May 2025. Experts say that the food delivered amounts to only 5 to 6% or even less of the total need. That too to those or by those who have the muscle power and the strength to go and get it from the distribution point without being shot at. During the same period, many entire families have been wiped out. In one tragic incident alone, 9 children from a single family were killed in an airstrike, children aged between few months to 12 years old. This is a family of Dr. Ali Najaz. Their father, a doctor, succumbed to his injuries later in a hospital. Only the mother and one child survived. The mother, she is also a doctor, had been working on duty when the bomb fell. And in another case, a girl miraculously escaped from a burning tent while all her family were wiped out. These are some of the horrific incidents that have been taking place in Gaza on a daily basis, inflicting lifetime severe trauma and psychological effects on the survivors, primarily on the children. While truckloads of aid are waiting at the border, inside Gaza, children search through rubbish for scraps of food. Hospitals are overwhelmed with mothers unable to produce milk. babies dying silently in their cribs. It is a starvation by design, used as a weapon of war in what many call as a genocidal campaign, including well-known organizations like Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, UN Special Rapporteur on Palestine Ms. Albanese, and many, many more. As the scale of suffering became undeniable, mass protests erupted across European cities and capitals. Some leaders responded with a statement of concern. France, the UK, Canada, and even by Germany. Criticizing Israel was a taboo. Oh no, you cannot do that. Even Australian Prime Minister made a pass-by reference.
What the Israeli army is now doing in the Gaza Strip, I no longer understand, frankly, what its objective is. To cause such suffering to the civilian population, as has increasingly been the case in recent days, can no longer be justified as a fight against Hamas terrorism. When lines are crossed where international humanitarian law is now really being violated, then Germany, the German Chancellor, must also say something about it.
Many see this as a historic statement. It's the first time a German government has so openly addressed the possible violation of international law by Israel.
But words without concrete action meant little to the Palestinians. The siege only tightened, killings and bombing rates increased, hospitals were decimated, journalists were assassinated, people were drip-fed and driven to despair. When confronted with criticism over the blockade, Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu appeared in the media, brushing off the concerns of the starvation and making a mockery of the sufferings. Watch this video.
Photographs, those videos. What's the first thing you do when you take a prisoner in Gaza? First thing you do is you tell him, take your shirt off. We want to see that there's no suicide vest. Thousands and thousands of prisoners have taken their shirt off. And you don't see one, not one, emaciated. Not a single case. From the beginning of the war till the present. In fact, you see quite the opposite because you don't get that much exercise, certainly not in tunnels.
But he failed to see what mothers in Gaza saw. Their children dying slowly, hospitals turning into morgues, infants too weak to cry, mothers in despair, looking helplessly at her crying child with hunger pain. This is not a war. It is not a conflict between equals. This is the calculated suffocation of a people trapped, starved, and bombed into submission. In Gaza, children are not just dying from bombs. They are dying of hunger too. No hospitals to treat. Many are orphaned. Nobody to take care of them. While the Western nations, the so-called protectors of rule-based global order, choose to look away. As the food routes and medicine expires at the borders, and professional aid agencies and humanitarian workers are expelled, what remains is the unanswered question: how many more must die before the world does something more than just speak? As the bombs fall and children die from hunger, the world watches. The genocide in Gaza continues, not in silence, but in paralysis.